Society and change. Social change has affected our physical environment by affecting large groups of people that share a common workplace or living space. The environment can affect our health through pollution in the air and what we eat. A current example of how pollution is affecting what we eat is our consumption of fish. The pollution from plastic waste and debris that is in our oceans is affecting the sea life and the fish we eat. As a society, we're recognizing this and trying to find ways to help fix the problem. Many engineers are developing ways to clean the debris in the ocean. As a society, we are trying to make the world aware of the dangers resulting from throwing trash into the oceans. Today, nearly 5 trillion pieces of plastic is floating in our oceans, and ocean cleanup is trying to collect all of it. California has also stopped using plastic straws in an effort to curb the plastic waste. Our pollution, our population has also felt the effects of social change. The change in more women going after careers rather than staying at home to have babies has increased, resulting in a decreased amount of youth in our population. Another effect is how advanced medicine has come today. Today we are curing cancers and diseases that in previous years would have left a number of would have left many deceased, therefore leaving our society with an increased number of senior citizens and a decreased amount of care facilities, families, and nurses to take care of them. Innovation has affected social change exponentially. With the global use of technology, we have effectively expanded performance and productivity of services. Innovation of how people can partake in various forms of helping and talking to each other. The internet has brought families together in ways that were not able to connect before. Social media has brought these issues to light that we were once blind to, and cell phones have taken over our world. Diffusion is a social measure in which components taken from various cultures is spread from one group of people to another, essentially a form of social change. Through this process, innovations are received by groups and businesses. Some of the things that are spread through diffusion are concepts, ideas, values, beliefs, materials, and behaviors. A very important consideration for the diffusion model is time. Many populations are divided into groups because of the amount of time it takes for them to accept an innovation. Therefore, today's diffusion is used to investigate the logical framework used to measure and understand social change. Social change has affected mass media in a multitude of ways. Mass media is a form of communication, whether it be through news, newspapers, television, radio, internet, and through advertising. Mass media has an important power over modern culture by creating culture. As a society, we are besieged with information. This information can affect our mood, thought, feelings, and influence our beliefs. Without mass media, we wouldn't have celebrities, for without movies, television, how could anybody become famous? Therefore, our lives are centered around the effects of mass media in our society. The information revolution. The information revolution has changed our society for the good as well as for the bad. We are able to learn and share information faster. The internet and social media have allowed us to connect with family and friends from all over the world. It has brought shopping into a whole new world. But along with all the good that the information revolution has provided, it has also had a bad reaction. Many shopping centers are closing down to the lack of shoppers visiting the stores. Malls are becoming abandoned as online shopping has taken over. With the ability to have the internet at our fingertips with our cellular phones and other types of technology, we have changed our focus on our children and family and given more focus to our phones. We no longer watch our children and interact with them like we used to. Parents bring their children to the park and watch their phones and not their children. For the future, I hope that we can learn to prioritize and allow the families to get to know each other again for face to face conversations. Pay more attention to our children than our phones and social media. We will see more shopping centers closing down, more delivery services available for food, shopping online, and fewer people will leave the safety bubble they have created inside their homes. Modernization. Modernization is a process of social change in which development in the economic component. Social modernization is a syndrome of social change that is linked to industrialization. Once it is set in motion, it tends to penetrate all aspects of life, bringing occupational specialization, urbanization, rising education levels, rising life expectancy, and rapid economic growth. Science and technology have provided conducive environments for economic growth to occur in developing countries through its ability to provide rational protocols and decision making for the productive use of material and human resources. Towards the end of the 19th century, China, Japan, and Korea began a process of modernization to strengthen themselves and survive challenges brought about through modernization. A key feature of China's modernization after reform began in 1978 and where they have participated in regional and global production market networks, which now makes China an integrated part of the regional and global community. Asian countries, despite political differences, share a common interest in open market and stable, secure environment for continuing modernization. Social movements in history. Many social movements have occurred in history. The civil movement in 1963, when 200,000 people marched through Washington, D.C. Many people demonstrated throughout the United States and resulting in an end to segregated schools as well as other public places. The women's movement helped to free women from the kitchen and allow them to work in any career they wanted, allowing for women to get formal educations, and women's movement is still in force today. Women continue to fight for equal pay and rights to our bodies. There are 4 types of social movements. These movements include the revolutionary movement, resistance movement, reformative movement, and expressive movement. A revolutionary movement seeks a minimum to overthrow the government or state in hopes to change the economy and key institutions. An example of the revolutionary movement that occurred in history is the French Revolution. The French Revolution was a crucial historical event that resulted in lasting patterns for modern revolutionary movements as well as for modern politics in general. The resistance movement arise not only for the purpose to initiate change, but they can also come about to prevent change or to abolish an earlier created change. The resistance movement played an important role in defeating the Nazi German military in World War II. World War II began in the 1930s, and the war resulted from the Treaty of Versailles when World War I ended between Germany and the Allied powers. Because Germany lost the war, the treaty was extremely harsh on Germany, leaving Germany to accept responsibility for the damage Allies endured during the war. The treaty mandated that Germany pay a large sum of money called reparations. This left Germany's economy in ruin, and while people starving and the government in disarray. The Germans were desperate for someone to help repair the damages of the First World War. This led to the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party. In Hitler's rise to power, he took over Austria in 1938, and when no one tried to stop him, he then took over Czechoslovakia in 1939. Hitler's need for power led to World War II. As World War II drained the people of hope and peace, the resistance movement evolved. Secret armies and partisans gathered information for the Allies, therefore helping to destroy communication lines. They also assisted in the escape of POWs, and they helped attack the Germans when the western and eastern sides started to retreat. With the reformative movement, people seek change that will achieve existing ideals more adequately. An example of this movement could be used in current events. The fight for same-sex marriage and gay rights is an example of this movement. This movement started in the 1970s and is still continuing today. The last movement is the expressive movement, where the focus is less on institutional change than with an update for renewal of the people within the movement, promising future restitution. An example of this movement would be the hippie movement. This movement started on a college campus in 1960s and spread throughout the country into Canada and Britain. The hippie movement began as an anti-cultural movement against the principles of average American life. Despite the fact that the movement started in opposition to the U.S. involvement to the Vietnam War, hippies were not in fact engaged in politics versus their counterparts, the yippies, aka the Youth International Group. Hippies preached peace and love and promoted openness and tolerance. Even music followed in the movement. They were also advocated for the environment and helped to move the environmental movement, where Earth Day began in 1970. The hippie movement began to fade out in the mid-1970s, and by the 1980s was pretty much gone, and a new generation had taken its place. Thank you.